Welcome back to the Legally Legit podcast. Today's episode is a topic that I know a lot of small business owners wonder about, and that is brand photo shoots. How often do you do them? What is the best way to plan them? And legally, what should you be thinking about when you are creating content for your business and your brand? Now, here at the Legal Page, I feel like we have really dialed in our process over the years. We intentionally schedule at least one brand shoot and content shoot, sometimes two a year. I honestly cannot overstate how impactful that these have been for our business of always keeping fresh content coming out and fresh photos coming out. I feel like our visuals are always up to date. It always supports our marketing campaigns. And if we have any themes behind our marketing campaigns, it gives me a lot of updated content for emails and social media and products and ad creative. But in my opinion, it is not just about the visuals. It is a huge energy boost for me. These types of brand shoots and content days reinvigorate me and my team. They give me a lot of space to get into that visionary mindset, face of the brand, be creative, go back to photographer page land. And they're just so much fun. They used to be stressful, which is why I'm recording this episode. I really want to tell you the ins and outs of why I do brand shoots the way I do them and how to do them a little bit better for yourself. They have become some of my most memorable days that we look forward to as a company. It's fun to get together as a company. We just did one again in July. We did one in March this year, and then we did one in July this year. Because one of my team members who lives in Florida, she was actually in Washington State visiting her family. And then we had just hired an attorney who was also here in town with me in Montana. And then we have our COO who's also based in Montana. So our gal from Florida, she's an attorney, she came over and we did this huge brand shoot. We did it not only for the Legal Page, but we kind of coincided with Griffith Swazo Law, our sister law firm. And it was just so much fun. We get so much B-roll galore. We laugh at bloopers. And when we travel for them or we are all together, it's really intentional time together as a team to reconnect outside of our day-to-day workflow. I cannot recommend brand shoots enough. And I think you should do them more often and content days more often. We do a brand shoot and content day in one now because we've gotten so streamlined and good at them. But here's what I'm going to talk about in today's episode. I'm going to break down how we structure and plan our internal brand shoots at the Legal Page. I do want to sprinkle in some legal considerations when working with photographers and models and private locations that you may do a brand shoot at or content day at. I'm going to talk there too about understanding copyright and licensing and ownership kind of before you ever work with a photographer or step in front of a camera or videographer, and what to kind of look for when hiring a brand photographer, including what questions to ask, what to expect and to invest into. And then I'm also just going to kind of give you a play-by-play on how we plan these. And I said how we plan them, but all of the different elements that go into that planning. All right? Okay, let's get into it. Hey there, I'm Paige Griffith, your host, an attorney for small business owners, and the founder of The Legal Page. I help online businesses and creatives get legally legit in no time. In this podcast, I break down and simplify legal talk while providing practical business guidance every step of the way. With over a decade of experience in both entrepreneurship and the law, think of me as your go-to legal resource, here to tackle all those what-if scenarios so that you can focus on what you do best, growing your business. As a gentle reminder and disclaimer, I am an attorney, but I am not your attorney, so be sure to seek legal counsel for personalized advice. Welcome to the Legally Legit podcast. So as I mentioned in my intro, we plan at least one, sometimes two, maybe three brand shoots a year. They are not just for aesthetic reasons, although yes, we love being on brand and kind of evolving as a brand here at TLP. This last brand shoot we do is a little moodier, and I was full-blown Merlot pantsuit. It felt so good. But these these shoots really support our upcoming marketing campaigns. That is like number one priority for us. I have always done content days and then brand shoots alongside those with the next marketing campaign in mind. But we do sometimes for product launches. I always think of email sequences or funnels that we're running on the back end. Do we need any new updated visuals for that? Social media, that includes the brand, like the content strategy of it. So B-roll, do we want any B-roll for social media? Are there any trending videos and reels or TikToks that we could film? And then we do brand visual updates for website refreshes too. So you can use a brand shoot for so many different things, and I highly recommend that you do. Don't just do it for one marketing campaign, because in my opinion, that is not worth it. What is worth it is if you are knocking off like 5 to 10 different things that you could check off your list for marketing visuals, which is photos, static imagery, but then also video. Like, how are you utilizing video? Like cinematography, and really utilizing it well, not just for B-roll purposes. So we at the Legal Page, we've learned how to be strategic planners when it comes to brand shoots. And I'm going to be honest with you, it is not a quick task. Prepping for these brand shoots at least takes 5 to 8 hours. I asked Casey, who has been kind of my producer for brand shoots for the past 4.5 years. And she came to the conclusion that she spends at least 5 to 8 hours over the course of a few weeks leading up to the brand shoot. And she breaks those down into phases to make sure that we, as a cohesive brand here at the Legal Page, and this is what you can do too. I want you to like take this playbook. So if you're listening on your phone, like open up your notes and take down some notes here. Or, if you're listening somewhere where you have a notebook on hand, like here is kind of our phases of planning, because I want to make sure we go into a shoot day fully prepared and not scrambling. I have learned the hard way. I have scrambled. I've like thrown things at the walls. I've like tried to make things work. I try to make sometimes just the outfits in my closet work, and that never feels fun and energetic and reinvigorating. Like I said, these need to be. That's what brand shoots should be and content days should be. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 phases here of the planning. We do campaign first planning. I always have my team sit down and we start by identifying what's coming up on our marketing calendar, what campaigns or product pushes do we have happening in the next 3 to 6 months. These become, I would like to call, our quote unquote must-have content anchors. So for example here, do I have a mid-year sale coming up or a Black Friday sale coming up? What other launches do we have? Are we like pushing out website terms and conditions and have like a TNC campaign happening? Are we actually going to push out a new template or bundle? And what does that look like? And like, what do I need to have in the brand visuals for that? Do we have any new opt-ins happening that we need flat lays for, or something specific for that? So we make a list of what we need to capture to support those important marketing campaign pieces. Then phase 2, I think about color and aesthetic direction. Once I know what we're promoting, we choose a color palette that supports that campaign. We always like to switch it up every single year. We sometimes did like themes related to our mid-year sale and Black Friday sale campaigns, but now we kind of, we keep it a little more casual and we just do a color palette. So think like darker tones, fall tones, wintry tones. That's what we tend to lean towards for our fall campaigns. And then we do a little bit more like fun, lighter, lighthearted, like color palettes that we take from, because we have some like lighter colors in our brand palette and then darker colors. And I use those lighter colors for spring campaigns. Ultimately, what I'm doing here is I am making sure that it aligns with our seasonal creative direction, and then it always fits cohesively across all platforms. So when I'm thinking about our color palette, like, is this going to work with meta ads? Is this going to work with our affiliate marketing? Is this going to work with just the product launch that we have or the campaign as a whole? Am I making sure that that visual will also work if it's just a cutout of me on a white wall that then we're like repurposing into various marketing visuals? So Then when I choose the color direction, and Casey then, so what she does as kind of our producer of these brand shoots is she's like, "Hey, campaign first planning. Here's my list. Now I've got a color palette and aesthetic direction." So then she goes in and creates a mood board, and I like to kind of be a part of this. I want to think through like outfit choices, and then what feels good to me right now. Do I want belts? Do I want skirts? Do I want pantsuits? Do I want to reutilize existing I always have blazers on for a lot of my shoots. So do I want to utilize existing blazers and then just get different pieces for like dress wear, dresses down below, or like, you know, a blouse and pants? Do I want to utilize my same shoes that I have? Do we want different shoes? Like, what is on trend? Is it fun to like, it's always fun to buy some new things. So I always add new things to kind of my brand portion of my closet. And then sometimes if we want a few more casual photos, I do reutilize, of course, like jeans that I have in my closet, or just basics that I have. Like I have basic black pants, basic cream pants that we use a lot. But it was fun this time. This summer, I utilize a lot of things I had in my closet for March, but then in July I just needed something different, and I was feeling really good in my you know, my own shoes and my body, and I felt like it was time to level up a little bit, so I bought some new things and it was really fun to shoot with those. Then we think about props and collateral. So Casey also makes a list here when we're thinking color direction, cool. What is the aesthetic direction? That also includes, you know, she'll make a mood board with ideas from Pinterest and kind of looking, of course, at competitor sites and like seeing if there's any brand photos that they have or coexisting brands that we have. So if there's, you know, I look in the lanes of CFOs and accountants and maybe not direct competitors that we have, but other like lawyers in the online space and what they're doing. Maybe they're not like in the creative entrepreneurial wedding industry space. But just kind of seeing like what visuals are they doing? Has anyone else had a recent brand shoot? Just getting direction and kind of, I just want to consume during this artistic direction stage. What kind of props and collateral do we need? Then we reached out to our team. Do you guys have some of these props and collateral? This is what I have. We've utilized these in the past. Should we buy anything else? And then this is also where Casey comes up with location scouting. Can we use Paige's house and home and office as the location? Do we need to book a location? We have gotten a lot of success from shooting at home first, and then we move to a location for an hour or two and knock out a bunch of brand photos. And then we knock out a bunch of brand photos there at that location and some content like B-roll videos too. So we usually look for a space that's rentable in town, and we try to always switch it up. So sometimes I've done Airbnbs. This time we found a really cool space that a photographer owned that they kind of changed up and then are renting out to brands now to do brand shoots. So we did that this time. And then of course I do some like in my office. I want it to be more organic looking, that this is where I sit and record and do things all day long. And then we also did my dining room because it had some like cool darker tones to it. I painted my whole dining room like this dark chocolate brown, and I wanted to utilize that. And then we just do some like in my kitchen and living room to be a little bit more casual. So that's the aesthetic direction that flows into phase 3 with shot lists and then visual gaps. So Casey goes back through our existing content. We have a Dropbox. That is like the TLP master folder. And then we have this folder called photos to use and B-roll to use, content to use. And we have in there all of our brand shoots from previous years. And what Casey usually does is she will go back in and just look at our past couple of brand shoots and identify like what's outdated, what is missing, what needs a refresh. So she thinks about hero images for our website banners. That's a big one for her. Like, what do I want that visual to look like during this marketing campaign when people land on our website? And then she will repurpose that visual for all of our other marketing channels, you know, social media, meta ads, affiliate marketing, and affiliate, you know, like swipe copy and, you know, graphics that they can utilize. So she thinks of hero images. Then she goes to stock style photos. So contracts, like what visuals do we have? Do we have business cards in them? Do we have the legal page logos and stamps appropriately in them? Do we need more, just kind of more stock imagery of me reviewing contracts or signing contracts, or other lawyers, or like hands in the photo so it looks like a group environment? And then, of course, any updated headshots or behind the scenes lifestyle shots. Of course, I feel like people are they're so ingrained on like, I need an updated headshot. And so that's all they think about when they're going into a brand shoot. Don't do that. I want you to also think about the behind the scenes, more lifestyle shots. I always get new headshots. Yes, that's important. But I swear those stock style photos of like you doing things, but then lifestyle behind the scenes photos are just as important, if not more important nowadays. And then don't forget, when you're taking those photos, whip out cameras and also take B-roll of all of that, because you're going to be using that content visually in terms of video quality more than you will photos nowadays. And then, of course, flat lays mock-ups of templates that we need to update to match the color and aesthetic of that brand shoot. So yes, we have tons of stock imagery from TLP. I like to own all my stock imagery. I do not buy stock imagery from other sites. There's no ragging on those stock imagery sites. I think they're great. But as a photographer, I like to own my own copyright, and I like to edit my own stock imagery. I also just love creating stock imagery. I think it's really fun, and it makes ours unique and different than what other like lawyers who aren't photographers will have on their website. They're just lawyers, right? They're just legal minds. But I am a creative mind. I am a photographer at heart, and I am also a lawyer. So I always try to mesh those two together during my brand shoots, and I like to take my photos. I'm going to get to that part in a second. But really, we just ask ourselves here on phase 3 of planning, are there any shots from past shoots that we loved so much, but we just want to recreate that with a new, fresh look? That's what Casey told me to say here. She's like, I do that. That's what I'm doing with everything. Do I love this photo of Paige? Why do I love it? How do we utilize it in various capacities with our marketing and website? And then can I recreate that with like this new Merlot outfit that she has on versus a black outfit that she had on previously? And then can she like switch that with different background visuals, through Canva and AI and all kinds of things. So, and then of course, it would not be a TLP brand shoot without drumroll contracts. So every shoot that we have includes content that showcases our templates in action. We have learned this hard in the past, where I'm like smiling like a lawyer, but then I don't have contracts in my hand. It makes no sense whatsoever. So we now always make sure that if I'm getting a photo, then Casey like throws contracts in my hand, or a legal pad with contracts coming out of it. Am I flipping through a binder looking at contracts? Am I signing something on an iPad? Am I showing mock-ups on my computer of our contract templates, or on a laptop? We just always have contracts everywhere in every photo. It's so important here at TLP, and it is the core of who we are as a contract template shop. So contracts are everywhere, and I always print out we have made mock-ups of service agreements, of short forms, of clauses, and then we have them look like sort of what they would look like if you open them up in Google Docs or Microsoft Word when you're downloading our contract templates, and then we just use lorem ipsum language throughout. So it still really looks like contracts. All right, so once you have finalized your campaign first planning and then your color and aesthetic direction, then I want you to think about the shot list and visual gaps that you currently have with your brand. Phase 4 is logistics and just final details, buttoning everything up before the brand shoot. So we lock in our locations, we confirm what gear we're using, since we do shoot in-house. What lenses do I need to bring? Then we pack all of our props, and I print all of my collateral. We always bring physical contracts. We bring physical props as well. And then I organize and streamline my outfits. I make sure I'm not overbearing on my outfits, and I have learned to really consolidate. So sometimes I would just bring like 15 different blazers and 5 different blouses and 10 different skirts and 10 different shoe options, and like that just gets overwhelming, and I never use all of them. So I usually pick out what I think I want to wear, and we use our mood board that Casey has created. But then actually I make Casey come into town, and she lives about 30-40 minutes away from me, and she will come in, and then basically ixnay some of them and then give me the thumbs up on some of my outfits that I'm going to wear. And we really are like, hey, these are the core 3 to 4 outfits we need photos of for all of these different campaigns. And then a lot of these 3 outfits could be extra, or we could switch in like, I love this top and blouse, and then we switch in jeans with a belt and switch out the shoes to make it a little more casual. So definitely organize outfits. We steam outfits. That's a huge thing of prep before. I don't like steaming day of. We steam and iron and organize and get everything ready to go. So the morning of is not hectic. I want the morning of to just be me listening to music, getting excited, thinking about the photos, bleaching my teeth, putting my makeup on, doing my hair the way I want to do it. You can also, I know lots of people get HMUA, so they'll get hair and makeup artists, and that is a great way to go about it. I have never done that for a brand shoot. I should. I should. That would make things a lot funner. I could just like drink a mimosa and have my hair and makeup done and then do a brand shoot. So if that's you, you do you, boo. I'm all about that. That sounds great. That sounds fun and sounds a lot less stressful. But I just love, well, not a lot less stressful for some people. For me, de-stressing is like spending an hour not having to organize the shoot. It's already organized. It was organized the previous 2 days. And then I'm just, in my mind, prepping for B-roll ideas, scrolling, listening to music, getting pumped up, listening to a podcast, doing my hair and makeup. And then after all of these phases of planning, we build a little shoot day schedule. And that way everyone can have the schedule. We sent it out to anybody who's a part of it, whether that's models. We've had models at brand shoots. We have our team members in brand shoots. And then sometimes it's just me, but Casey's our COO. And I just call her my like producer of all things brand shoots. She likes to be organized, ready, and like walk in feeling like she owns this day and she's going to knock out everything that needs to be knocked out on this checklist. So we always have a shoot day schedule. Highly recommend a shoot day schedule. And I suggest you create your shoot day schedule. We have worked with other people who have created shoot day schedules. I think it's a good starting place, but I really want you to be so clued in to how the brand shoot day is going to go or content day is going to go that you're not just totally taking direction from other people. Like a photographer or a videographer, or, if you have like a content creator there, yes, it's good for them to direct you and like help you. But if you are so innately, aware of what's going on with your shoot schedule, you're going to feel a lot more in control. If you are listening to this episode and realizing that it's time to tighten up the legal side of your brand shoot and content days, you are in luck. We have everything you need at thelegalpage.com, including model releases for models that you're hiring, commercial photography contracts, licensing clauses, copyright assignment templates, property releases, all attorney drafted and ready for you to use right now and have in your back pocket for your brand days. And because that I know that you're planning your next shoot soon, wink, wink, you should be, you can use the code BRAND20 for 20% off all of our brand related contracts and clauses in short forms at thelegalpage.com. Again, that is brand BRAND 20 at checkout for 20% off. All right, let's get back to my juicy brand shoot info that I was just chatting with you about. Alrighty, so next, after all the planning, I just want to touch on our internal photography workflow because people are always really interested in this. Because of my background as a professional photographer, we do most of our shoots in-house. I have never really truly hired another brand photographer. I have when I am on location, like at a workshop or conference, and they have brand photographers there, and maybe I just need to get a few new updated visuals. That's when I will hire a brand photographer. But I was a brand photographer. So this is so unique to me at TLP. I totally understand if you cannot do this because you are not a photographer. But I handled the technical setup, if you can believe it. Usually I am doing the manual camera settings. I shoot on Canon and Sony. I handle the lighting and the composition. And then usually what happens is Casey or another person on our team will step in and then they assist by like aiming the camera and clicking the shutter once the manual setup is complete. That is insane, but also awesome. I think that's so cool that we do that. Here's what this does. It gives me full creative control because clearly I'm a photographer control freak, obviously. It gives me editing and culling control. So I get all of the images and then I get to edit them. We have learned a workaround here, and I'm going to tell you what it is, where I will still, and then it gives me complete ownership of the images at TLP. I want to own everything, even our stock images. I want copyright ownership up the wazoo. So I love personally editing my photos. It is a pain in the butt. It takes so much time. I edit for hours afterward. I usually have to block off like at least a whole day to edit and cull. But I love this because I feel like shooting and styling my own flat lays and stock imagery and like making sure that my brand is fully showcased the way I want it to be showcased, it just maintains consistency. And I love that I don't have different editing styles every time we do a brand shoot, and it allows me to do more brand shoots throughout the year. So it's just so fun. I feel like we get to do all of this internally as a team. I want to note here that I know this is not the norm. Every team and you as a business owner might not have a Casey, so to speak, like a producer that also is good enough to like click the shutter and knows enough about photography on the back end. I've taught Casey over the years. She wasn't great at the beginning, but now she's a beast. She can basically be my photographer. A lot of people don't have this Casey Paige dynamic. Of course. We're like this unique little unicorn. I used to be a photographer. I'm also like the face of the brand. So I also can be in front of the camera, not just behind the camera. If you don't have this, that's totally fine. What you would need then is to hire a brand photographer. There are so many amazing ones out there. I could just, if you want to know, I have really good brand photographers that I can recommend and they can fly to you. So just go reach out to me on Instagram. I will DM you a couple recommendations. Like Jordan Quinn is such a good one. And her and I, like, we've never worked together. We're going to soon. I've worked with a couple others as well. I can't think of them off the top of my name, but Jordan and I were just talking in DMs, which is why she came to mind. She has shot big names in the industry. So, yeah, there's brand photographers that are very, very, very good at what they do. There's also content creators who are very, very good at what they do. So if you do not have a team like a Casey and a Paige, if you do not own a full frame digital camera, then you are probably not shooting your own photos. If you are not good at like doing actual B-roll and video on your phone, you need to hire a content creator to capture all of that for you. Just promise me you're not going to go into a brand shoot with just a photographer and not a content creator too. I just feel like that's not efficiency at its finest. And if you can be the content creator and use your own smartphone and get really good B-roll and video creatives that you can utilize based on that brand shoot, great. If your photographer can do it, sometimes they can add that on to their brand photography package. Do it. Pay the money, do the content creation as well. Kill 5 birds with one stone. Seriously. Do not underutilize a whole brand day and content day. That is what we do. That's our internal photography and content workflow. We have like 5 phones out. And then what we did at this last brand shoot is I had my team kind of taking behind the scenes stuff. Casey and I on both of our phones were taking the B-roll and actual specific video creative that we needed. And then we combined them all into a shared album. And then our marketing manager has access to our shared album, and then she can just go in there and grab anything she wants. So it's a really cool way of doing it. And then our law firm as well, Alicia and I's law firm, can utilize all of that content too, because it's kind of one and the same. Like if lawyers are in a video for TLP, we could also probably use that for GSL. That's Grovaswaza Law. I will also link our law firm in the show notes, and you can kind of see how brand visuals look there. I wanted to quickly talk about utilizing models in brand content because we have done this before and it works flawlessly, and it's so much fun to bring models into brand shoots. So when we bring in models to appear in like photos and videos, one, you need to make sure that they are agreeing to commercially having their likeness used online and in every aspect possible. I like to make sure that my models don't just want, like photos of not their face. I still like people's faces in photos. And so you need a commercial model release and you have to have your models sign this. We had our models sign this. And then you need to figure out what the quid pro quo is. How much are they charging? Sometimes we'll just hire friends to be in photos. And then I will also ask some friends, like, can you help me represent this type of diversity in our photos? Because I'm just, like a white lady and I want to make sure that everyone is fully represented in the TLP brand. So we really, really strive for that. And that's what models can do for you, especially if you want to have a more diverse, inclusive look to your brand photography and, your content visuals. So when we bring models in, even if I'm hiring them, I make sure I pay them. And even if it's a friend, I always pay for it. And then I have them sign a model release. In that commercial model release, you want to make sure a few things are included in there. Here's like the legally legit portion to this episode. In a model release, you have to have the right to use their image and likeness for commercial purposes in perpetuity. Then the permission to use that content indefinitely, that's the in perpetuity. You want it to be forever and ever. They can't revoke it. And then the ability for you to publish and distribute and promote the content across all media platforms and the ability to give that to third parties and sell that imagery. So why? Because of sale and exit reasons. You want, if ever there was a model involved in a brand shoot and you had that on any content and then you sold your business or you brought in a new owner to your business or something like that, you want that to still be able to be transferred to the new ownership or the new percentage of ownership in your business. So most importantly, you want a commercial model release to state that you will not use the model's name, just their image. So it's not a person, they're just a model. And this avoids any type of like false endorsement issues and protects both you as the business and the brand and the model from potential misuse. If you are hiring a brand photographer, they will require you to have proper commercial model releases for your shoot. They should put that onus and that liability on you as the brand and brand photographers. There's a hint for you. Make sure you're always putting that liability on the brand and not yourself. And that you, of course, have the ability to use those photos for marketing and advertising, but the liability and the harm would fall on them if they did not get proper model releases. So we always do here at the legal page, of course. I'm always on the up and up and making sure that I'm legally legit with my brand shoots. But just make sure you are too. And I think some people forget this. They just have friends or models come in. Like if you're a photographer and you're trying to, I don't know, even just like build up your portfolio. Sometimes you have a model come in, but then you don't have them sign a commercial model release. Not good. Make sure they sign this one-page document. We have these at the legal page for models specifically. So I'll make sure to link that short form document that you can get as a brand or business owner, and you can have that in your back pocket. You can pop it out every single time that you're hiring someone as a model for a brand shoot. The other legal thing that's really important for business owners is location agreements. We have encountered this many times here at the legal page. So whenever we're shooting at private properties like hotels, we've done it in hotel lobbies before. We have shot at private universities before. We have shot at just commercial spaces and not like outdoor public spaces or, my personal home. Any of those, we usually have written location agreements and releases that we have to sign. And it's super, super important that if the location itself is identifiable, legally speaking, and it's a private location, you have to sign a property release, is really what it is. And this shooting a brand shoot at this location property release basically confirms that you have the permission to take photos and videos on those premises, that you can use that content commercially, and that the location owner like waives any potential claims of unauthorized use of you being there and that you're allowed to do it. They also sometimes will have nuances in these property releases of, hey, you can shoot here, here, and here, but if you have any likeness of us, like a university, they've had this before, like, please don't have our logos or any identifiable locations on, you can't shoot at this very specific stadium or this really iconic stair step, if it's like a really important building on their campus and it boom identifies that university, lots of times they won't let you shoot there. So yeah, don't just think it's like a free for all wherever you're shooting. Even if it's like an open commercial space, you probably need a property release, and just go talk to the owner and ask for one. Typically, the location has this type of release and they will give it to you. And you just have to like connect with the manager or front desk. They will know what you're talking about. And it's just always better to get permission than ask for forgiveness later, because can you imagine if you spent all this time and energy and then you cannot go actually use those photos commercially? That is the pickle I do not want you to be in. So I want to shift gears here and talk quickly to brand photographers specifically. All right. If you are a brand photographer, I had mentioned that I was going to get into copyright options. And so I want to break this down for you as a business owner, and then also for brand photographers in owning the rights to your images. So if you are managing this shoot yourself or you're hiring a professional photographer, you have to have a strong brand photography contract in place. The only exception to this is if you are a Casey Paige team where I own the equipment, I own the memory cards, I am editing them, I am shooting them myself. The only other thing that we have done at the legal page is I have had another photographer friend come and click the shutter. And so they kind of utilize their skills. And I usually have at least a written email documentation agreement with them or text message thread with them that I then keep like securely in our Dropbox or cloud platform, so that they have agreed that I own these images legally for commercial use purposes, and that they have released all of those images to me. For professional photographers, what you are going to see in a brand photography contract is what's called a commercial use license. This is commonly found in a brand photography contract. It could also be a separate agreement, but usually it's a clause in a brand photography contract. And what it needs to say is that you as the brand are allowed to use the images for all business and commercial purposes on your website, social media, digital ads, etc. What it does not allow usually is the resale or major edits or exclusive ownership of the images. If you want any of those things, usually you have to pay the brand photographer more. Totally makes sense, right? The brand photographer wants to still own the copyright of the imagery and then giving you a commercial license to use. And then you want to expressly delineate in your commercial use license clause as a brand photographer what that means. What is this license? What are the parameters of this license? What are the confines of it? What you can and cannot do with the images as the brand hiring the brand photographer. But this is important for brands and businesses to know. This is the clause you negotiate. And brand photographers they should be very well versed in negotiating this clause, because every brand sometimes wants something different. And so our brand photography contract has two options here as a clause. And option one is a commercial license. Option two is full copyright assignment, because sometimes a brand wants to buy the full assignment of the photos. This is usually a more comprehensive clause. It's where the photographer legally is transferring and assigning all copyright ownership of the images to the business and business owner. And then that would mean that they have full control over any derivations or editing and distribution and commercial use. Sometimes, though, it can have restrictions on editing. So it can say you can have the full edited images. I'm still not giving you the raw images. But if you're assigning full copyright ownership over, usually it's like without restrictions. Full stop, here are the images. You can do whatever you want with them. This usually increases the cost of the brand photography, and rightfully so, because you're acquiring full rights to that photographer's work, and now they probably can't do very much with them. Sometimes, again, then this can be nuanced down. You can have copyright assignment, but they still maintain some licensing on their end to use their own brand photos for marketing and advertising purposes for their own brand photography business. But sometimes it doesn't. They're like, nope, I'm not getting access to these ever again. Here you go. I'm going to say this one more time for all of you tuning this out in this episode. Hi, I'm still here. Remember, you as the business owner do not automatically own the photos just because you paid for the brand session. Ownership has to be addressed in a brand photography contract, and it needs to be in writing, and you need to sign on the bottom dotted line on what that kind of commercial use license is or full copyright assignment is over the brand photos. This goes hand in hand with content creators. So if you're hiring a content creator, same thing applies there. A photographer owns the copyright of images the minute they click the shutter and compose the shot, and that transfers from their mind to the camera onto their memory card. A content creator owns the same thing with their smartphones, or if they're using, I don't know, there's like those DJI Omni, little video recorders. If they're using any type of camera, like full frame camera or even like crop sensor camera to record videos and content for you, they own that content, the copyright ownership of those videos. So still photos and videos, whoever is capturing them owns them. And in order to transfer the copyright to you, usually the full copyright ownership is transferred with content creators. Sometimes it's just a commercial license to use, but most often you're just getting all of it. Sometimes they'll edit them, but sometimes they won't. Sometimes they'll just give them to you raw and you can do what you want. So content creators are great in that respect. Just make sure that you do have a written document and a clause in that contract surrounding ownership of videos and or still photos. Now, another question I get asked a lot with brand photography is, Paige, how do you hire a brand photographer? What should we know going into it? I have hired a couple, as I have mentioned, and I ask very specific questions. Now I've gotten really used to shooting my own photos, but here is what I would do as a business owner and the kind of questions that I would ask if you are looking and hiring a brand photographer. So here are the right questions to ask. What are my rights included in your standard commercial license? So what are my rights? What can I do as a business and a brand? What are you willing to do with that specific price? And is there the ability to purchase photos and get full assignment after the fact? Or does that all need to be decided up front? Am I allowed to crop or edit the images? Sometimes you're allowed to crop, sometimes you're allowed to minorly edit, sometimes if you have to heavily edit, they will say no. So just ask a brand photographer, can I use the images in any and all paid advertising in perpetuity? Usually it's a yes. Make sure you're getting a yes there. Do you offer copyright assignment as an option? I kind of already said that. Can I view a full client gallery and not just Instagram highlights? This goes for any type of photographer you're hiring, whether that's for family shoots or weddings or whatever. Make sure that you get at least 3 to 5 full galleries that you're looking at in different lighting. So if it is a brand photographer, if they are just a brand photographer at their studio, you know that they know their studio lighting inside and out. And so you're probably good there. But I would still ask for full client galleries, or at least like highlight galleries from past brand clients that they've shot. And then if you are doing it in your house, in an office, in a dimly lit location, if they have shot at any of, these places that you have paid to go shoot at in town. Sometimes a lot of brand photographers are continually shooting at similar locations in town. Ask them if they've shot there, if they have any imagery there that you could look at. And then how many final images will you receive and in what format? Is it just in JPEG? Is it in, like high resolution digital imagery? Is it in raw format at all? Do you, I would also ask here as a brand photographer, do you do any content creation on top of that? Do you hire out and contract a content creator? Can I hire this on as an add-on? So am I just getting JPEG images, still imagery, or am I getting videos as well and B-roll that I can use? And then when will I receive the images? That's really important. When will I receive the images? And how will I receive the images? So is it in an online gallery where I get access to all 500 to 800 brand photos? Am I only getting access to watermarked images and then I get to choose, 60 to 80 of my favorites? Just ask all those questions to your brand photographer. They will have an answer for you. Expected costs here. Brand photography is not cheap. So it typically ranges anywhere from $1,000 to like $3,500 plus. And here's why. It's basically a wedding day, you guys. Hopefully all brand photographers are loving my answer to this right now. It is expensive and it should be expensive. They are taking a whole day out of their schedule to shoot just for you and your brand. They are usually not having any other clients on board. If you are just hiring a brand photographer for like an hour or two, that is different. But usually brand photographers should be willing to give you hours and hours and hours of their time that day for you, like a full at least 4 to 6 hours. I think brand shoots should take that long. If you're just hiring them for a couple of hours, expect a normal hourly rate of around, $350 to $400 on average. So you're already still looking at anywhere from like $700 to $1,000 for a couple hours. And that's why I'm like, if I'm paying that much, I want more time. I'm putting so much time and effort into planning this brand shoot and content day. So just expect that cost. But again, make sure that everything that you want is included in that cost. And then other costs to kind of expect or anticipate are copyright buyouts or extended commercial licensing will kind of increase that rate. You want someone who's really experienced. Newer brand photographers just aren't going to get you to where you want it to go. There's tons of good ones out there. Of course, you can price shop a little bit, but just kind of know like you really are getting what you pay for with brand photographers. I have experienced that. I have not liked some cheaper brand photographers that I have worked with. And then the people that I pay a lot of money to, I love my brand photos from them. So you also want someone who really understands your business goals, has experience working with brand-based clients, and is really transparent about licensing and ownership and gives you their contract and knows their contract inside and out. Then you know you're working with a professional when they can answer all of your questions surrounding commercial use, licensing, copyright ownership. Then you know that they know what they're doing. Same thing again goes with content creators. All of these questions or all of the things, just turn it into content creation and actual videos when you are hiring a content creator. But lots of brand photographers, you guys now either like just hire on content creators to work with them. So they'll subcontract out, or they will point you in the right direction of, hey, I've worked with these 3 content creators. That's who I recommend that you hire for your brand shoot and content day. Okay. A few key takeaways to leave you with this episode. Legal protections. I want to make sure that you're always legally legit. This is the Legally Legit podcast. As a photographer and a lawyer, here are 5 big things. Always have a contract with your photographer or content creator that outlines usage rights, payment terms, delivery timelines, and copyright. Ownership. Number 2, use model releases anytime another person's face is being featured in your content. And this is really important for minors being featured in your content as well. Number 3, location agreements, property releases when shooting on private or commercial property. Number 4, know the difference between a commercial license and a copyright assignment. And number 5, if you are creating content in-house, be sure your business is always the legal copyright owner by default. All right, that is it. That's it for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. It was really fun to talk about brand shoots here at TLP and what we do, and then also brand photography and what I recommend. And so before you go, I want to leave you with this. We recently did a brand shoot at our local public library. And let me tell you, it was really cool. It was beautiful. It was a tiny bit chaotic, but it went pretty well. We, though, were like chasing pockets of natural light while the sun was like going behind clouds and it kept disappearing. And it was so annoying. We had to keep moving tables around mid-shoot as well because the library staff was like setting up for this massive evening event. But yet, you guys, we still made it work. We just found 2 or 3 solid corners or backdrops that had good light, clean lines, that were cozy. It kind of had a studious vibe, like lawyer vibe that we were going for. And they turned out to be exactly what we needed. So here is my lesson to you all and leaving you with for a brand shoot. You do not need 25 perfect backdrops for your brand shoot. You just need a plan in place that we talked about. You need to be flexible during your brand shoot and content days. You want a small handful of intentional spaces. Brand shoots should be a creative process, right? They need to be a legal process as well. When both of those are done really well, you're hiring correctly, you have the correct, copyright licensings in place. A brand shoot and content day can power your business for months to come. So even with the chaos of shooting at this public space that was a public library and I really wanted photos there. And then everything didn't go as planned. And like they were setting up for this event. And so some of these backdrops that I wanted to use, we couldn't use. We made it work. Just make it work. Make it work. And keep your eye on the prize of getting good photos, checking off that checklist that we talked about with the planning process, making sure your visuals are on point and are the colors and aesthetics all align with your business, and always really try to get good B-roll. And also try to be fun. Another brand shoot that I just recently had, we had a little bit of extra time on our hands. And at the very end, we could have been done. We could have just like gone and got apps and drinks and like been done. But I looked at everyone and I said, let's do some fun trending videos. And so we got on TikTok and Instagram and we all just scrolled our own feeds and we found a couple fun ones. And that just, it ended up making for the best content. We actually had some of our most engaged posts and reels from those last 15 minutes of content that we created. And it was fun and we laughed and we got good behind the scenes and it was great. So if you are planning your next brand shoot, I hope that this episode was helpful or you gleaned a little bit of insight from it. I want you to, though, make sure that you are always protected from the legal side of things. That is most important with brand photography and content creation. So model releases, commercial photography contracts, licensing clauses, and copyright assignments. All of that is available at thelegalpage.com. I will link them all in the show notes so that you have that for easy access. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If this episode helped you or you think that it would be really awesome for your business owner friend to hear, I would love for you to share it. And then you can also just tag me on Instagram that you listened to this episode. That would mean a lot to me too. I am at The Legal Page. And then please don't forget to hit subscribe on the Legally Legit podcast so you don't miss future episodes on all things being legally legit and business ownership and entrepreneurship. I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's show. Be sure to visit thelegalpage.com for contract templates, blogs, and additional legal resources. If you found this episode helpful, please share it with a friend or on Instagram with your favorite takeaway, and make sure you tag me at The Legal Page. Sharing is one of the best ways you can support the show. And if you've been tuning in for a while and you are finding value in these episodes, it would mean the world to me if you popped over to Apple Podcasts or Spotify and left a rating and review. Hearing your feedback absolutely inspires me to continue creating podcast content. Lastly, you can join my free Facebook group at tlpfacebook.com, and this is where you'll get access to me, my legal team, and thousands of other entrepreneurs for unlimited business and legal Q&A. Until next time, my friend.